What's happening, boys? How are we?
Good evening.
Better now than I was, 24 hours ago.
For anybody that wants to skip the misery, just go back to the episode where we sacked Stephen Naismith. Reverse, reverse back to when we sacked Robbie Nielsen. You just cut and paste job them if you want. If you want to save yourself some heartache, if you want to relive the omni shambles that is Heart of Midlothian, the horrendous, turgid performance yesterday at Tynecastle, which seen us be dragged into a relegation dogfight, which ended Neil Critchley's 6-month reign as a Hearts manager, then stick around. You can have lots of tears and snores. And anybody that's any interlopers, any Hibs or Aberdeen, I'd say shoot your load too early because we will get relegated. So just treat this as like pre-season to build up for when we go the last game of the season away to Kilmarnock, having to win, and we don't. So you get a good chuckle when we play Falkirk in the playoff, and we end up Terry Butcher Hearts in it. So there you go. Don't go too early.
I didn't go back to something you said. Did you just say, what was the word, omni rage or omni something you just
I
said?
said omni shambles.
Omni shambles, right? I've never heard of that before. I'm definitely using that in a phrase this week.
That is what we are, in it. That's what we are. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So anyway, Ando, what's been happening? You all good?
I'm good, mate. Yeah. As I was saying, just in the green room before we hit the record button at the start of the week on Monday or whenever it was, when I renewed my season ticket, I couldn't have been more full of hate and just animosity towards everything Hearts. But I don't know why. Just news over the last 24 to 48 hours. I know we're in a horrible shit situation and we probably will get relegated, but it's a new dawn. It's a new day. And that's the one little positive of hope that I'm clinging on to.
Kev, what's been happening?
Yeah, not much to report. Didn't do a great deal at the beginning of the week because I was still devastated from the past few weeks of our play, and then yesterday just cemented that. Aye, grand.
Superb. Well, now that we've got a new fancy hosting site, we could put like Samaritan's number up or something. Maybe just have like a ticker tape, better help or something. Just something if you need support, talk or something. Because this is going to be grim, innit? This is going to be grim.
You should probably mention it. And if you were listening in the audio version of this, you'll have heard the tape roll at the start, which is nothing we can do about now. But we are part of the TalkSport fan network, where the official official Hearts podcast for the TalkSport fan network. They won't be inviting anyone else. It'll just be us. Shower of miserable bastards. If you tune into that network, so be grateful.
I guess they've never listened to us, eh? They've never listened to us be
Don't know how we
miserable.
made top of the list, but well,
Christ
we'll
knows.
take it all the same.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like we like to keep it real. Like we said when we first started it, we started the podcast because we missed the pub chat banter of what you get at a match day. We love tears and snotters and the mad conspiracy theories. It's not our fault. Hearts continue to give us reasons to be miserable. So it was funny because there's a thread on Kickback, and I think it was called Glasgow Jambo or Jambo in Glasgow or something, had posted to say that he struggles to listen to any of the Hearts podcasts because it just seems like it's just negativity on repeat. And I was funny when it went full time on yesterday. I did chuckle to myself thinking, how are we going to spin it so that Jambo in Glasgow can listen? Then I was like, well, here's some positives for you. I'm positive Adam Forrester shouldn't be playing for Hearts. Positive Neil Critchley shouldn't be managing Hearts. And I'm positive Anne Budge needs to be kicked out the door. So there you go, Jambo in Glasgow. There's your positivity for this podcast. You can tune in next season when we're in the Championship on BBC Alba Friday nights and we're beating Stranraer and Arbroath and we're all loving it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. See, if games are going to be on a Friday night, that's probably just a lot better for me because it gets it over and done with, and I didn't have to cause too much turbulence with the missus coming up on a Saturday. So, if we're going to be playing a lot of late night games on a Friday night, I'm all for it.
I know I had a tantrum yesterday in the section as someone said something very similar to that, and I went absolutely apoplectic. Okay.
You
not,
never.
uh,
No.
not me. Exactly. I can't remember what it was, but it was like because obviously we're right next to the goal. I think Dundee had a corner or something, and at this point it was still 0-0, and somebody said something remotely positive, like shouting, because there was a library, so you could hear everything, right? You could hear all the players talking to each other and shouting, and someone said something remotely positive, and it just lit the fuse. I just went mental at the player. I was like, he's deserved fuck all. He's deserved fucking nothing, you shite bag. Beep. It's like the bottom six is embarrassing. You should be embarrassed. You're a disgrace to the Chelsea. And then everyone was like, all right, Corbett, calm down. I was like, and then when they scored, I was like, I tell yous. So, well, there we go. We can talk about that good stuff later. Is there any, I suppose, actually?
I was just going to say, also, just because obviously the last episode was just you flying solo, delighted to have you back.
I'm delighted.
I know. Aye, we've actually had a couple of emails about that last pod. A couple of them have asked not to be read out. One guy said you can read it out, but just don't tell anyone my name. And then one guy who was like, absolutely, advertise my name, tell me, tell the world who I am, blah blah blah. But quite a lot of good feedback actually from that last one. So
well, we'll do before we finish. We'll read them out because obviously we appreciate anybody getting in contact with us, and obviously Tam's realization on the last live stream that the whole reason that he's on the YouTube comments is to give people a bit of airtime and to thank them for taking the time out of their busy lives to actually bother or listen to us. And when I say Tam on YouTube, he goes, nothing. Sorry, mate. It's 11:30 on a Sunday night, mate. And there's like 400 people listening. Can you at least acknowledge some of them? But aye. So I think, I'm trying to think, is there any Hearts news other than the big talking points before we jump in it? Player of the Year awards happening right now.
Is that right?
That'll be a jolly night.
God.
That'll be a good laugh, won't it?
Oh, Christ.
Well, no, it won't be.
Yeah, I like that Hearts actually tweeted a picture of the room and said the stage is set. As if anybody's a fuck. What are you talking about? He's dead, man. Stop trying to wake me up. I'm eating my Sunday dinner. Stop annoying me. Stop. I swear to God, they must tweet thinking this will get him. This will get him.
Aye, exactly.
That's all they're there for. It's all the only reason the boys got.
I never messaged the club at anything about Critchley or got in contact to say sack them because I think I actually said in maybe our live stream or whatever, I was fairly confident that Critchley would be sacked, and I'll explain why. But I did message the club yesterday to ask why there was no minute silence or minutes applause or the players wearing black armbands for Dave Clooney. Obviously, Hearts player. Not that one. Not the one. Don't worry. I also asked Hearts, please don't make us do that. Please. There's enough going on in life without a minute's applause for the Pope. Please. Please don't make us do it. But I think a genuine real question was, yeah, I get all that and I understand that puts football in general. We're getting to a point now where actually I get a bit riled that these things are pushed onto football when members, like important people in the world, die or whatever. But when our own players pass away, guys that have given their life to Hearts, and that shouldn't be walked past. So I'm hoping that the club, it was just because of the sort of announcement late in the week that the sad passing of him. Maybe the fact that they're maybe looking to the St Johnstone game because I think there's a tie-in with St Johnstone as well. I think he played for St Johnstone at some point as well. So maybe I'm hoping that it hasn't been missed and that the club will do something about it. But yeah, we can't have players passing away and then even put something up on the big screen or whatever. There was absolutely nothing. So I'm hoping it was just an oversight, or there's a perfectly legitimate reason why the club failed to acknowledge it. But I have asked the question, so once I get an answer, I'll let you know. Right, what do you want to talk about first? Do we talk about the game that led to the decision, or do we talk about the decision Where do you want to start?
Let's go with the
Well,
game
if it
and get it over and done
helps,
with.
I was going to say if it helps, I wasn't at the game. I haven't seen the highlights. Didn't bother. Because I was in that sort of mode where the season's done for me. I'm not going to games. I'm really not that bothered about watching it until a change has happened, and obviously didn't get sacked until afterwards. So yeah, I went and just lived my life yesterday, rather than bothering with the Hearts game. So if you want to skip the game, fine, I'll contribute. But otherwise, I'll quite happily sit and listen to you two talk about it.
Well, sadly, their season isn't finished. It should have been. At 5 o'clock yesterday, it should have been done and dusted. Play the youngsters, play the B team until the season's done. But it's not what Hearts do. It's not what we do when we're on one of these waves. So we obviously lost our second home game in a row. That's true. Is it 5 games now without a goal in the league? Is it as much as that?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is there or thereabouts. Nothing of the grit, guile, stuffiness that we saw, that we enjoyed and appreciated in the semi-final. Did we see yesterday? Just everything laid out that the team's chucked it, managers chucked it, and the crowd have chucked it. I think they had to shut the hospitality sections because it had no uptake in it. I think the official number for tickets sold was 6 for the hospitality package yesterday in the Gorgie suite. It was canned. That's why there was a big empty space behind the Ultras on Saturday for the first half, and then everybody for the Roseburn walked over hoping to get a better glance of Hearts in the second half. I bet they never regretted something as much in their whole entire life of wasting the journey for the Roseburn to the Gorgie. But the stadium was empty. It was like a morgue. So, aye, it was a pretty grim day all round, Kev.
Aye. From start to finish, I must admit, I was very in the mood of I can't be arsed going, but I traipsed me along, did a Corbett, took the car, didn't even have a drink. The boys would about me thought I was miserable with a drink. They see me miserable without a drink yesterday. So, from that point of view, I don't know which one they prefer.
Aye. And see, if we're being honest, right, the reason that we're looking for another manager, because it's been the same for the last 3 managers. We actually, if you want to look at it from a football perspective, we actually don't play that bad. We keep the ball, we do exactly what we're supposed to do, but it's lifeless, boring, no cutting edge. It's all neat and tidy to the final third, and then it's complete panic stations. It's just recycling the ball, turning it back over. It's knocking about the back four. We've joked, honestly, go to the discussion where we sacked Robbie Nielsen. It's the same. Left back to centre back to centre back to right back to centre back to centre back to left back, throw in. Brilliant. It's the same. It's the same rubbish on repeat.
It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference who's in the dugout. It's exactly the same. If you went
Kev,
and watched the game for
we haven't. You're right.
3 years ago,
but we haven't changed the coaching staff. I know Forrester and McAvoy left and Jig left, but it's the same. It must be the same sessions. It must be the same tactics. It must be the same idea that is getting churned out, because these players, and again, it's a downside of the fact that we've never progressed the squad. The players that are there that play revert back to where they feel the most comfortable, which is what we see on Saturday, which is keep the ball. Everybody is terrified to make a mistake. Everybody's terrified to try a forward pass that doesn't work, try a shot that doesn't come off, try and beat a player. So what they do is they take no responsibility for trying to take the game by the scruff of the neck. Apart from Cammy Devlin and Benny, they just turn the ball over all the time. You get, I think, who was it played? Was it Kingsley? Was it Grant? Somebody paid a 60-yard diag. Unbelievable path. It was George Grant. But this was with 10 minutes to go when Frankie Kent was up front. George Grant was playing centre half, but the ball carrier along with Adam Forrester. And he raked a 60, 70-yard diag out to Musa and Alan Forrest on the right as we were attacking it, and within 2 passes, they passed it back to him. He had a diag 70 yards, put it perfect into space, and within 2 passes, Alan Forrest, Jesus Christ, Alan Forrest to Forrester back to Grant. So the 70 yards we'd gained in the match handle, your NFL brain can be kicking in. All the gains that we'd had for getting up the park, we gave back immediately. It's so easy. There was 3 or 4 times, same with Aberdeen, where we spring out for a counter attack. We win the ball back. Great. That's what we want. That's why Benny's there. That's why Devlin's there. Win the ball back, and we pass to Khartoum or whoever, and it's side to side, take a touch pass, and we allow Dundee back into shape. They're playing a low block. That's what they were coming to do. Play 4-5-1, low block. Simon Murray's the out, or switch with the Palmer Holden guy, and we've got no urgency to get the ball into dangerous areas without missing the lines. Has to go defender to midfielder to attacker, because that's how you get the nice stats, and that's how we're supposed to play. No one will miss a man. No one will bypass a man. So by the time we get 20 yards, 25 yards to the Dundee 18-yarder, or we're in there, they're back in shape. So you're now 5 along the back. So you're side to side, trying to make spaces, because we've no urgency to let and get forward. They would just let them back into space. And then we run out of ideas. So we recycle the ball back and we start again. And then what happens and makes it even worse is that teams are happy for us to do that. Teams are happy for us to have the ball. When we start to work it back, they put on, it's not even an aggressive press. It's just a bog standard push up. You hear teams all the time, and you hear fans shout, "Get out!" That's all a team does, is they move 15 yards up the pitch. Simon Murray presses onto Kent, presses onto Halkett, presses onto Kingsley, whoever it is that's there, and there are 2 midfielders that are playing in that 4-2-3-1 or the 4-5-1, whatever you looked at. Tiffany and the guy that's gone to Rangers, can't remember what he's called now. Cameron.
Lyle Cameron.
Aye, Lyle Cameron. They go support Simon Murray or the Palmer Holden boy, and they squeeze us, and we can't handle a press. We can't handle it. We just panic, and we pass it back to Gordon, or we pass it out to play, or whatever it is, and it's just pathetic. It's just so pathetic to watch. But from a football purist's perspective, we've got hundreds of possession in the right areas of the park, loads of people covering distance, loads of people getting loads and loads of touches, but it produces fuck all.
Yep. I'm sure you said that 2 seasons ago, 4 seasons ago. And it is. You could, and that's why I bet even Docherty and any manager that's playing against us doesn't actually even do any homework. Because they know perfectly well what they're going to get. They know what they're going to get. They got it 2 seasons ago, 4 seasons ago, 6 seasons ago. It's exactly the same.
And the only good thing now is we're actually starting to see, I know I mentioned it the last couple of weeks, but like Gary Neville's been talking about it loads on Monday Night Football with Jamie Carragher and overlapping on other podcasts and that, about the amount of defenders and goalkeepers that touch the ball. Like, you know what I mean? Like the amount of time, like no one pays money. You don't pay £30-40 a shot for a ticket to go watch Frankie Kent dominate the ball. It's nothing against Frankie Kent. I think he's a good player. I don't pay my money to go watch Frankie Kent put his foot on the ball and pass it to Stephen Kingsley, pass it back to Frankie Kent, pass it to whoever it is, McCart, pass it to... That's not what people go to watch football for. And it's starting to creep in. And it's also this mad way of trying to play football. And I didn't want to use the old, you piss with the cock that you've got, but it's true. Friday night, I went to Partick Thistle. I was at Firhill to watch Scotty, and I'm watching the Championship in Scotland. I'm watching Partick Thistle play by kicks with 10 men they've got two centre halves inside the 18-yard box and they're passing the ball short to him. I'm like, what are you doing? You're no Real Madrid. It's Partick Thistle on a Friday night. You're down to 10 men. You're not good enough to play that. And within 3 passes, Falkirk had pressed them, got the ball back off them, and put themselves under immense pressure. Watching, again, to the polar opposite, I watched Liverpool-Tottenham the day. Tottenham are 3-1 down. Anfield's buzzing because they're going to win a title. Liverpool are all over them with the press. And yet every single bye kick, the goalkeeper, the 2 centre-halves were in the box and they played the goal kick short to try and build for the back. And you're like, what are you doing?
It's textbook management. It's like someone's read it in a guidebook, and it's the cookie cutter approach of everyone's going to do this now because that's the way you win a football game.
It's football, colour by numbers. And then, do you know what really bugs me, right? Back to Firhill, right? And we'll get back to Hearts in a minute, right? Partick Thistle for 85 minutes or 80 minutes, whenever the Falkirk guy gets sent off, we're trying that rubbish, play it out, pass it about the back, blah, blah, gain the ball away constantly, constant recycled the ball because they just kept losing possession or they kept making their own ball, dicking it in a channel and then losing it, blah, blah. As soon as Falkirk went to 10 men, Partick Thistle started to play command crazy football. Get everybody up and we'll just start launching the ball into the box. And it was panic stations. Falkirk couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle it. Their defenders are being asked to defend. Their midfielders are being asked to win second balls. All the stuff that we watched growing up with football that defenders could do, that midfielders could do. Dave McPherson, what do you want him to do? I want him to header the ball and kick it the direction that he's facing. Get it out of the park. That's what you wanted the defender to do. Would you want Colin Cameron to do? I want to win that hit. When Dave McPherson wins a header, I want him to win the second ball. When there's a 50-50, I want him to go in, win it. Neil McCann can pick up the scraps or whatever. That was what football used to be. And they get their goal. They get their free kick. They were getting corners. They were putting Falkirk under pressure by playing the untrendy, unstylish football, which is what Scottish football is. It was get it up the park, get as many people in the box as you possibly can, because you'll get a chance. You'll get a chance, and they got a chance and they scored. And I'm watching Hearts on Saturday, and the writing was always on the wall, right? But you knew that it was gone when we went kind of route one in the last 10 minutes. And we had the Vargas chance, we had the Gordon on the keeper bit, we had the Stramash for that or whatever. We were starting to create more openings than we did the whole game. And the manager, who decided that now we were going to stop the side-to-side probe and stuff, we're going to start going long, start hitting channels, start trying to get turnovers, he took Cabangu off. Now, he was rubbish, he was terrible. I've told you that he's rubbish and terrible before, or he's raw. I'll say raw, that means that's football terms for he's crap, right? But we can't say that just now.
Right? We're getting close to it though.
Yeah, exactly. But they took him off, and they had Frankie Kent up front. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I get it, fine. He's been shite, but he's 6'4" or whatever the hell he is. He's fast. Just keep shelling balls up. Let Frankie Kent win headers. Let him be there. Like Sutton and Shearer, Andy Cole and Les Ferdinand, whatever it is, little and large, that's what happens. Let him win headers. You take him off. What are you doing? We're either trying to win the game or we're no. Substitutions all the time.
Crazy.
Same, we talked about in the semi, and yeah, they kind of work because we almost 3 minutes away from getting to penalties, right? Fair enough, right? But you bring 2 centre-halves off and took your 2 strikers off in a semi-final. I'm sorry, I don't watch and pay £36, £38 a ticket to go hope that my team gets to penalties. I'm sorry, but I think my team's got enough about them to be like, fuck it, let's just go for it. You know, we get beat 3-1, but we're trying. Brilliant. Like I said, we watched Gaza break our hearts at Celtic Park in the Cocoa Cup final. Neil McCann was unplayable. Robbo, unplayable. As a team, we were superb. Stevie Fulton, brilliant. Like, all over the place. That's what I expect for Hearts. Your backs are up against the wall. Let's go for it. What do we have to lose? Fight, exactly. When you watch Saturday, Kev, none of that. None. Just panic stations. Total and utter confined to the fact that we're not winning this.
And the worrying aspect about that is the fact that you've just mentioned 3-4 players. None of them at this moment in time could lace those guys' boots.
No, none.
None. I mean, imagine a Stephen Fulton at Stevie's heyday when he was playing for us in that team, and someone like Robbo making those particular wee short runs. That would, we didn't see that. You do not see that at all. There's no movement because, as you've already said, it's all about recycling the ball. Because nobody will make miss that one guy out. If you remember back to earlier in the season, when we were playing half decent football, how many times did Penrice make that ball, make that pass, and Spittle ran round and collected it because it went through between the centre half and the left back, right back?
Yep.
Did you see that now?
Yep.
All of a sudden that's gone out. But again, it comes back to what you said earlier on about the fact that nobody's got the actual confidence to try that particular pass.
And that's what.
And then sorry, I was going to say the other aspect that frustrates the hell out of me is why are we taking 2 touches to control a ball? You're a professional football player.
That's what I was going to get
to control the ball and then pass on. Sorry.
No, you're right. You're spot on, mate. That's exactly what I was going to say. Anyway, that's the most. That's the alarm bells that have rang in my head for day one that Critchley was a charlatan because he was supposed to be a coach. That was it. He's a coach. He's on the grass. He's on the training field. He's all that stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm a fat guy that lives in Bathgate. That's not a football coach, right? I watched Hearts on Saturday versus Aberdeen, gave up 3 clear-cut chances in the game, and those chances came from the centre halves and the gaps between the centre halves and a striker getting in between our centre halves. Dundee on Saturday, Palmer Holding missed a sitter header, where again he split our centre halves. Simon Murray gets a benefit of the opportunity. He missed a sitter before he scored his goal from the centre halves and the distances between centre half and centre half and right back, centre half and left back. That's all of the stuff that a good coach would watch and go, wait a minute, you got away with it last week. That's not happening again this week. Let's correct that. Let's fix that. The corner, the corner routine, they score. Aberdeen score for a corner. The next again week, we set up the same way. Set up zonally again, and imbalance at the front post, imbalance at the back post. You're hoping then that your 2 centre halves are the ones that win the contacts. Nobody up in case you get a counter. So all you're doing is even if you win first balls, Dundee are picking up the second ball because there's nobody outside of the box. A coach wouldn't. Fair enough, right? That's your first idea. You go, cool. Let's work on that. That's the way I want. That's the way I want us to be. First chance, second chance, half chance, or whatever. You'd say, right, I'm changing because it's not working. But someone put a thread on Kickback actually, and it was right. You're looking at senior football players that have played for Hearts for a long time. I'm looking for somebody to take control of that. Craig Gordon. He's an international football player, played 43-year-old. He's played at the highest level. To say, fuck Zono, it's not working because we're no winning contacts. I'll take the hit for the manager. In the game, I'm seeing it. I'm in front of you. I can see what's happening. I'll explain to the gaffer why we've changed. This is what I want. You stand front post. You stand here. You man mark him. You get touch tight. Wiping people out, coming for crosses, commanding his area. Or a Frankie Kent, or a Stephen Kingsley, or a Lauren Shankland, or a Benny, or a Cammy. Somebody that's been there long enough to say, this isn't working. We're changing it. We're changing it. We'll reset it at half time. Take some responsibility for what's happening in front of you. And I'll contrast that again, what I just spoke about there. In the first half, Craig Gordon's in front of us. Frankie Kent is about the only person that speaks in the back line. He's the only voice you can hear. It's him constantly berating players where to be, all that sort of stuff. Gordon doesn't really speak. Trevor Carson, in the second half, the Dundee keeper, he would not shut up. He dictated everything. Where his right back should be. You're too far apart. Squeeze. Get together. Get out. Get out. He shouldn't get fucking out. Get out. Whenever we gave up a chance, he screamed at the players to be like, that's you. You should have been over there. You should have been tighter. Get to him. And I'm like, Where does that? I said it last week in the podcast about Graham Shinney. I don't want Graham Shinney because I don't think he's a good football player, but I want Graham Shinney in a bottle and give it to somebody because that's what we need. That's what we grew up watching Hearts. That's what I think of when I think of Hearts. I think of Robbie Neilson, Stephen Presley, Andy Webster, Paul Hartley, Rudy Scatchell, Kev Kyle, even Brian Stevenson. People that went and just were horrible football players. They did the dark arts, but they also did good stuff. They took games by the scruff of the neck. They took responsibility on the pitch, and they made the people round about them better. I get who's getting rocketed in the changing room? Who's getting rocketed? Do you know what I mean? We were rubbish in the first half, came out and were rubbish in the second half. Who in that changing room has got somebody up against the wall? Who's kicking skips? Who's gone mental? Who's swearing? Who's throwing stuff? Who's wanting square goes with people?
Absolutely nobody. And the thing is, I don't even think that would have been discussed because I think they would have just went, here's what we do in the second half. And it is effectively exactly the same. You've said it enough times, Ando, about the old idea of, plan B is do plan A better. That's all they would have talked about. Nobody went through a single one of them. And
but the first half's done, right? That's water under the fridge, to quote Gary O'Connor, and then that's it. How can we get at them in the second half, right? There's no accountability for everything that you done wrong or shite in the first half.
And I know that I don't know now because it's been out, but that used to be that Shankland was like that in the dressing room. I know that Shankland was there on Saturday. Shankland, I watch because I'm that type of guy. I see Shankland was the last person out and onto the bench for the start of the second half. Like the game had started, so he was clearly in the changing room. If he was a voice, I don't know. One of the problems, and I know we talked about before, and this year I can only share the stories that I have because I've got someone that's a professional footballer. Mick Beale, when he was at Rangers, that was one of the things that Scotty always said was what was wrong, and it was the same with Van Bronckhorst or whatever. It would be let's talk about it on Monday. It's too emotive right now. Emotions are too high. Everybody's all hangry. Let's dissect it properly on Monday. And they would be like, no, turn the fucking lights off. Let's kick fuck at each other for 40 minutes. I'd prefer that. I didn't want to watch 5-minute clips of what didn't work because I know what didn't work. But it's nothing to do with technical ability. It's not how we were set up. It's no shape. It's desire. It's fight. It's hunger. It's attitude. And that's not going to get fixed sitting in a room 2 days after the fact, watching a clip. That person, if I go smash him now, stick the nut in him, I guarantee he'll remember that more than a clip that you showed him 2 weeks ago. He'll know I better never do that again because he'll smash me. And that is lost. I can almost guarantee that's not happening in our changing room because we do the same thing wrong week after week. And that was evident on Saturday that, yes, Critchley, he should never have been in the job. But these players now have been responsible for Robbie Neilson losing his job, for Stephen Naismith losing his job, and now Neil Critchley's lost his job. Somebody that comes in next, whoever comes in next, we need a manager. I don't care if that sounds like we're a dinosaur. I don't care who it is. We need a manager. We need somebody to go in and take no shit from anybody. Set a standard and maintain it because that's what's missing. Because we've had the last 3 folk we've had have been coaches, and yet we see the same mistakes week in, week out.
Yeah, they're all nice guys. They're all nice guys. And that goes back, and it goes further up the channel as well, because it would probably, or it appears to be, that everybody around that boardroom and around that board table is exactly the same. They're all nice folk, and not one of them has a backbone to actually stand up and say that's not good enough for this football club. Not one of them understands what we see and what we feel after a display like yesterday. Okay, I wouldn't say that the display last Saturday was it was a much better display than we've seen of recent times. But yesterday, the game against Dundee United, the game against Motherwell, these games, who's calling that out? Because it appears at this moment in time that nobody is from a boardroom level. So all of us work for big companies. We all have a monthly 1-to-1 or a quarterly 1-to-1, an annual 6 monthly. All these things. Does that happen? Because if it does, there's a shitload of them that have been told you're no good enough. And unless you actually, buck up your ideas, you'll not be at this club come August. That's my opinion on them.
And one of the things I've spoken about this before. I've used this analogy before, but I'll tell you the story, the actual story behind the killer whales jumping out of fish tanks, right? How it happened. I worked in retail before, right? And that's what I did. I came up and learned my trade in Livingston at the centre at Livy, worked for Levi's, went to San Francisco. I've been all over the place learning retail, all the data that's driven through hot points in your shop, window data trackers, KPIs, all that stuff, like all that. And then went to a sort of startup brand that was coming up. It was trying to become one of the big boys on the high street, and I get a flagship store. My first store manager role was a flagship store, Buchanan Street, Glasgow, busiest shopping centre, shopping street in Scotland. That was the Champions League for retail. That's where you want to be. You want to be a store manager that's in there that's turning around multi-million-pound store, multi-million-pound shop year after year, 20, 30 staff or whatever, 2 floors, brilliant. That's what you want. And I took over there, and I had all the data, all the experience, knew everything, knew all the stuff. Like, this is what needs to happen. This is where we go. This is how we'll track this. This is how we'll do all that. This is get this on Excel, get these SharePoint documents, PowerPoint presentations for training, all the stuff that looks great on paper. But the team that I took over from had a manager that was an absolute dictator. He was on them for everything, never let anything slip, was a total bastard to them. And I thought, come in, get to know them. And when I spoke to them, they hated it. They hated him. They hated everything about it. And I was like, right, I'll try a different approach. I'll put an arm around them. I'll get the best out of them. And month after month went, KPI started to drop, performance started to drop, sickness starts going up, absence starts going up. And it was pretty clear that I'm not doing a good job. And the guy that used to be the boss was now the regional manager. So he took us out. We walked Buchanan Street and we sat down, and he was like, what's happening? And I was like, oh, they're taking a piss, to be honest with you. I was like, they're phoning in sick all the time. Some of them are late because buses and subways and all that. And I didn't live in Glasgow, so I didn't know if that's true or no. I've given them leeway. I've tried to be nice to them, tried to put my arm around their shoulder. And he was like, they'll kill you, mate. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your job, because what's happening, and this is where he said the killer whale story, as soon as you lower the bar, as soon as you lower expectations, you've rewarded underperformance, and they'll do it time and time and time and time again to you. And you'll never, ever, ever raise that bar again. You drop it once, and they'll take it, and they'll take a mile. And that's when they talked about, that's what SeaWorld get to get killer whales to jump out the water. You put the rope on the bottom. When it swims over one side, you get a fish. Goes over that side, you give him nothing, until he understands that this is the side to get a fish. And then you raise the bar, and every time he swims over it and swims over it and swims over it, you reward the performance, but you never, ever, ever start again and lower the bar. You keep that bar there until they learn that that's the bar. It doesn't drop. You have to meet that, and they'll jump out the water for you. And I've never, ever, ever changed my approach or my mindset for that. And that was it was that moment where I was like, fuck, I never, ever thought about that before.
Have you got your pro license?
I better get it. But and for that, and that's where it is. And the reason I tell that story, right, is Neil Critchley, when he took over, it was almost like fans were doing it, the board were doing it. We even heard about it in the announcements or whatever, that we're bottom of the league. We can't go down. So that was like the first target. Don't get relegated. When actually that shouldn't even be a target. It should be non-negotiable. You should just come in, ignore it, and be like, there's only 8 games gone in the season. There's 26 left or whatever, 27 games left in the season. I want 3rd. I want 4th. That's the expectation. We don't drop below that. Try and get as close to that as you possibly can. And if you get there, fine, but we'll review your position here unless you can get there. We want European qualification, and we want you to do something in the cup, because we've already made a decade of the League Cup. You need to get there. That's what the bar is. You want to keep your job at the end of the season, that's where you get to. But we already came out and says, get away for the relegation zone, get off the bottom of the league. And then it was, get in the top 6 or whatever. So and I know that was the target that was set to Critchley, was top 6. That was like the non-negotiable. So that says to me that, and you said that, like you said, Kev, that soft as shit for the top down. After the game against Dundee United, where it was in our hands, you got a home game at home, third biggest club in Scotland, third biggest resource, third biggest facilities, third biggest fan base, all that stuff. You have a game at home to sort your own future out. Yes, we had it up against us because we lost a man or whatever, but still you're expecting Hearts to go in there. At that point, when we got beat that day, that should have been the end of the conversation. That should have been, you're gone, because next week it's now non-negotiable. I need somebody to come in because we cannot finish in the bottom 6. We cannot finish in the bottom 6. And that's the problem that we have, is that he did get the game against Motherwell, where we seen the same insipid, horrible performance that we seen that resulted in us finishing in the bottom 6. And then he also got the Aberdeen game. And we know now that the board was split. They voted on whether he should remain in role. And as per usual, that was 4-3 when the voting in favour of keeping him in role, with the same voices siding with the ones that you would imagine would be the fans, McKinley Mallon and the McKinley and the FOH people wanting to get rid of the manager, Budge and our pals wanting to keep the manager, and that's where we're there. So you set a target, he fails to hit the target, you reward him by saying that's fine, you can stay in job, you can stay in role. And that for me, everywhere you look, whether it's the manager and the board, manager with the players and us, whatever it is, the standard just gets dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped until we have to kick off. We have to boo the team off. We have to arrange protests. We have to burn the place to the ground before they will go, oh, wait a minute, this isn't quite good enough. It's like, we need somebody, top to bottom, that can come in and is going to fix what we have, because, and we'll talk, this will bring us on to Critchley, because unless you've got anything else to say about the game, we might as well move on to what happened. Critchley going as a band-aid, it fixes absolutely nothing. We are now looking for our 8th manager in 11 seasons. That's every 17 months on average. We need a new manager. The people that gave Critchley the job are the same people that were the brainchild behind the idea of bring Stephen Naismith in, even though he doesn't have the right qualifications, pretend Frankie McAvoy's the manager so that we can manage in a European Cup competition. The same people that brought you, don't tell Daniel Stendhal he's been sacked, just bring Robbie Nielsen back. Daniel Stendhal can find out on Sky Sports News. The same people that sacked Craig Levein but decided not to remove him from post, to keep him in role, to keep him at the club and bring in an inexperienced German manager and not give him any backroom team and say, here, work with other people that Craig Levein failed under. The same people are here that gave Ian Cathro the job when Robbie left. The same people then gave Craig Levein the job. The same people kept Craig Levein in a job for almost 4 years, even though we were getting worse and worse and worse and worse. We've got to get rid of those people, or nothing changes. Nothing changes unless you get rid of the people at the top. And for the benefit of the doubt, I've said it 1,000 times before, I'll say it 1,000 times more. It's Anne Budge. The time is up. You have to unite to get rid of her. This is what football at Heart of Midlothian Football Club is like under Anne fucking Budge. Do something, please.
It's just another trip on the merry-go-round, isn't it? It's the same thing. It's copy and paste. It doesn't matter. You take one useless manager and you take like cookie cutter, copy and paste, whatever phrase you want to use. You're right. Thanks for bringing me right back down again. Cheers. I thought it would all be great now that Critchley has been given his jotters, but no. Like, joking aside, you are absolutely right though. I mean, see if you trace this back to like when did we start this cycle? Like what, 2015, 2016?
2016. 2016 when Robbie went first time round.
It's a decade now. Right. It's a decade of accepting shite.
The worst thing as well, Kev, is actually we've had one good idea from a football department, if that's what you want to call it, and it was the very first original idea, which was bring in hungry, young, inexperienced coaches and get this conveyor belt of talent. Bring them in, buddy them up with an old head, someone that's been in the game, get them to learn their stripes. We'll play the same way, the same formations, the same tactics from youth to first team, so that it's just a conveyor belt of talent constantly, including the managers, so that we no longer have to go and pay compensation to bring a manager in. We don't have to then go and take a gamble on somebody coming in and having to learn the way that we want to play, embedding, settling in and all that stuff. We've went and we've never, ever, ever moved away from that. That's the only idea we've had, and we have stuck to it. We once pivoted slightly away from it when we went to get Daniel Stendhal, but again, I will reiterate what I've said 1,000 times before. No one will convince me that the plan wasn't bring Stendhal in, let him stabilise the club, let the anger die down, rise up the table, get to the end of the season, maybe 5th, wherever it may be. Then when everybody's calmed down, we've not been relegated, reintroduce Craig Levein as the director of football so that nothing has to change, because Budge can't handle the lack of continuity. She's a control freak. She wants people that she knows in the roles that she can trust. And then let Daniel Stendhal kick on with the John Daly's of the world that were there, the Liam Foxes, the people that could come in and replace Daniel should he leave, and nothing really changes other than just who's the person in the hot seat. And we've never veered away from that. We brought Robbie back because Anne was pals with him and knew him, knew that he was safe, knew that he understood how the club worked, knew that he knew that vision for 2016. We brought Stephen Naismith, who was there. She wanted him because he was in the club. He'd been the B team manager. He followed the same path as Robbie Nielsen to the hot seat. We can bring in Frankie McAvoy, who's just Craig Levein. He's just an old guy. He understands football. That's where we're. And then we did the same with Neil Critchley, an inexperienced manager in the Scottish game, backed up by whoever Mike Garrity is, that's a bit of an older pro head, but Liam Fox is there. We've got Lee Wallace and Angus Beef in the youth teams. Andy Webster's kicking about. We've got a conveyor belt of people that can come and replace Neil Critchley should it ever fail. And we've never, ever moved away from it. And that needs smashed to smithereens and somebody with a better plan to come in and fix it.
And it also requires, in my opinion, it requires somebody to actually bring in their own team.
Yep.
You know, that's to me, and I know we never got to the bottom of what was the reason behind Hogmo, which we'd effectively been told was going to be the next manager. And Ando, you and I spoke when we heard that Fox was announced as his number 2. We believe that is the reason why Hogmo walked away. It's because he would have wanted to bring in his own guys, his own coaches, the people he trusts to play a football sort of as he expects football to be played, not to bring in or continue with what we've already discussed as something that's not working.
Aye. So, well, I mean, I don't have that confirmed. All right. No one has confirmed that.
No. But that's how it would appear anyway.
My understanding of it was that you're right, he did want to bring in his own team, and we didn't have the budget for it. We didn't have the money to bring all the people that were there. And like he said, he wanted to clear the decks of everybody. He wanted to bring in his own sports scientists, his own physios, his own coaches, the backroom team or whatever, because he's an experienced international manager that understands, actually, I can't carry passengers. I can't have people that potentially are going to filter into the players. Because again, people, what we see on a Saturday between 3 and 5, that's our interaction with Hearts. That's the club that we see. But actually, Hearts as a club is an organism that works Monday to Friday, every single day. So you're looking for the physios to have the same outlook and attitude as us, because they're, if you're in the morning for a training session, they're in getting a rub an hour before they go out. You know, they're getting stretched, they're getting massages, that they're limbered up or whatever. And again, I go back to harping on, but that's what Steven Gerrard did when he came in to Rangers at Ibrox. He got rid of everybody because he didn't want the guys the guys that were unfit sitting or injured sitting in the massage rooms, the saunas, the steam rooms, and all that stuff, moaning to people that had been there for 15 years, being like, "Oh, I remember Durante, he was a great player, and what about Gaza? And now we're signing Ryan Jack and all the people that were used to the old version of Rangers." He was like, "I didn't want any of those people there because they're the ones that infiltrate and start building the bad atmosphere at a club because they're used to how something worked in an old way, and they're there when somebody was successful." So what we see on a Saturday is just a team, but actually the team see the backroom staff all the time, and that's where it's about maintaining standards. It's about setting the expectations. You know, if they're talking, going, "Oh, I don't know what the fans' expectations are," you know, "We finished third last year and we've had one bad season, what difference does it make?" You know, and they're all moaning and thinking about it. They just, what you see on a Saturday is what you get. It's just, it's not good enough. It's not good enough for Hearts.
No.
So, no, but I suppose we're on to Critchley. Critchley got sacked for everybody that never knew. There's no Neil Critchley got sacked. That's essentially what happened. You knew he was going to handle. I thought obviously you won out the game, but in the game when he was walking off the pitch, you know, people were chanting Critchley get to fuck. People were booing. He was booed as he walked, and folk will blame the ultras or whatever. But when he walked over to the wheat field, he got booed. When he walked over to the Gorgie, he was booed. And then there was about 100 to 150 people standing waiting for him above the tunnel to give him absolute dog's abuse when he walked down the tunnel. So I kind of knew that it was coming. If you're Anne Budge and you're sitting up there, I don't know whether they voted and were split before, like I said, with the hospitality packages not being sold out, with the stands being half empty, this will have a very real impact on the club, the failure to get to the top six. And I just knew that the club would have to do something.
Absolutely. I think it's I'll be honest. I know, and I'm curious to hear what you've got to say on this. But you had a feeling that it would happen sooner rather than later. I thought us with our old, keeping the sentimentality hat on for a wee while, would probably give them to the end of the season and maybe even another transfer window. I genuinely had that level of apathy about the whole thing, but obviously you know something a little bit different. But yeah, when I got the message from Tam yesterday to say that he was gone, I was like, and let's just say clearly for the record, it is always crap. You never want any proper individual to lose their job or whatever. But there was no way out of this. Absolutely no way out of this, and it's decisive action. And I just didn't see us actually doing it that fast, if I'm being brutally honest.
Yeah, so I had an inclination that we'd act quickly. Like we said before, what had come out of the sources at the club was that the sort of non-negotiable target was top six. That was what was set when he came in, was essentially top six was like the be all and end all. It was, I think I'd mentioned last week, so I thought someone that works in the hospitality bits of the club last week who said that basically because of failure to make the top six, the fact that we would have had home games versus Celtic, Hibs and Aberdeen, we lost out on 3 big hospitality events. Celtic potentially would have maybe had to come to Tynecastle first game of the split for a chance to win the title. So you're looking at all the hospitality suites would have sold out for that. They would have sold out for the derby, and then if we were still in the hunt for Europe, they would have sold out for Aberdeen. So that has real life impacts on Hearts away from the football pitch. Seasonal workers, guys that are on 0-hour contracts, or whoever that are drafted in to help when these things sell out, they'll have no job. because of the glaring hole in the books that's going to be next season with failure to get to the top 6. So they said, so just a few things that were said was, I felt like if we didn't achieve the top 6, then he'd be sacked because of the very real possibility of it's all well and great having a hotel, but you can't afford the staff to run it. It's fine and well having a nice restaurant, but if the staff can't be there, then it won't work type thing. So there was going to be real life consequences of him not making the top 6. And I said last week that anybody that watched Andrew McKinley's CEO update, he spent pretty much all of it apologising, and it felt like the writing was on the wall for Neil Critchley. The refereeing performance, the kind of the injustice of the semi-final versus Aberdeen, I think, was a bit of a light bulb moment for the club to be like, we've got an opportunity here to get a bit of a siege mentality. Let's come out, condemn the refs because we've been on the sort of the bad end of a few dodgy decisions this year. Get fans on board by showing that we're not going to be a pushover. We're going to call stuff out. Let's try and get, a united front into the last 5 games of the season, a bit of like them against us mentality, go win 5 out of 5, rolling into the next season with momentum, rolling into the League Cup group stages with momentum. So I think it was tactical that they released the sort of statement, basically giving the manager a stay of execution. And then obviously it sort of culminated in what we seen on Saturday, which was turgid, insipid football, and you just knew that he was going to go. So I got pure ranty there. When the Hearts get me angry, I get very angry. So let's try and talk about some proper stuff. Are you any worried about Jamestown yet? Obviously, our signings in the January transfer window have made next to no impact. And we used Jamestown to get a manager that lasted for 6 months. Are we worried, or are we trust the process, or what's our thoughts?
Good one.
I think sorry, you go, Lando.
No, you first.
I was just going to say, any analytics system, it all depends on what you put into it. But that's what your input is. Will give you your output. If you put shit input in, you're going to get shite out. It's as simple as that. And we don't know. We won't know what the actual ask is of the Jamestown Analytics system. What kind of manager are they actually looking for? If they're looking for, a young upcoming, manager who plays a progressive football, then ideally that's what it'll pop out. But we don't know what they're actually putting into that system. And from that side of things, you've just got to trust that they're actually putting in the right data and the right information from the club's point of view. Because what we have seen is Jamestown's analytics, where it is used correctly and in the right way, is producing good stuff. There's USG sitting top of the Belgian league. You look at Como, who are currently, moving up the league in Serie A. So there's definitely positives about Jamestown Analytics, but it depends on what you're putting into it to what output you're then going to get.
It depends on the starting position as well for this, right?
Yeah.
So see if you were at the bottom of the league and you were to say, right, like Livingston, for example, bottom of the league, playing crap football, horrible shithole of a club, and you bring in a system like this, it's only going to make them better, right? I don't want to say that we were fundamentally broken beforehand, but we probably were quite close to that. Is this analytics engine something that is a difference maker, or is it just going to be an incremental gain? That's another big thing, right? So you give it to a shit club that's got no hope, no prospects, it will definitely make them better. If you've got a club that were maybe arguably passable, does it make that much of a difference for us outside of a Premier League setting? Because I think all this stuff has maybe been predicated on the Brighton model, which is, well, there's a lot of riches in that league that we potentially don't have. And then to your point, Kev, like where you have to type in the description and hit enter. Has anyone just wrote, "I want a bastard manager that can win things"? Right? Didn't get me just some fucking idiot, vanilla guy that will just fit his way into the ethos of this so-called modern club. No, give me an absolute bastard that wins something.
But if you wrote bastard manager and put that into the system, then you would also have to pay 20 quid into the swear jar.
Oh, fair point. Yeah.
But there are actually 2 points in there that I agree with, that I was literally about to make. Is number one is actually, I'll go back to what I just said about the first and only good idea we've ever had. The people that are in charge of the football club and the football department, the guys that gave Stendhal the job and then sacked him, and the guys that made Frankie McAvoy be Stephen A. Smith's dad and brought Ian in and all that stuff, they are still there. And the person that controls everybody, Anne Budge, will tell anybody that, one, she's complete and utter football novice. She knows nothing about football. But she'll also tell you, on the other hand, that she's a total control freak. So that person has had one idea. She's stuck to it. She's never really changed anything about it. They're in control of what goes into the system. So, if they typed in, "Can I have a young Craig Levein?" Is that what I want? Somebody to play 4-2-3-1 or some variation of it. Be hard to beat, loads of possession, but versus actually I want 3-4-3, high press attacking football, all out football, tempo, Kev Keegan, 1996 style. It's whatever you type. You need somebody at the top of the tree with a football brain that understands what we want and put that into the system. And what worries me is that every 17 months, it becomes very apparent that the people at the top of the club, they don't understand what we want. I've said numerous times before to you guys on the show, I just call that show what I like, or in the group chat, that I've sat in meetings about the atmosphere and the likes and the ultras and different, the leave it on the campaign stand, leave it on the stand campaign. I've sat across from McKinley and Budge and heard them say, like, what more do you want? We've got to semi-finals. We finished fourth last year and got to a semi-final. People are, what more do you want? They don't get it. They don't understand why we end up every 17 months like this, tears and snotters. So one, they control what goes into the system. So straight away, is it any surprise that they had the controls for a well-renowned, world-renowned analytics model and managed to churn out the exact same coach that we'd just got ready 6 months ago? Well, it's hardly shocking, is it? It's hardly shocking.
And then this is something. This is something there's something that I said at the very, very start when we were always talking about this, which is you have to lean into this absolutely belt and braces. You have to go everything, all throw the whole hand in sort of thing, right? You can't just do the Diet Cola or the Ryanair or the EasyJet version of this, which is we'll take 75% of your recommendations because we're going to parse through them and go, well, actually, Anne Budge doesn't like this one, so we're not going to buy it, right? Like, you know what I mean? You have to go all in. It's all in or nothing with this sort of shit, and that maybe is part of it as well. Just to your point about the people that are running the football club, because she's that much of a control freak. How much? I guess this is something we'll never know, which is how much of it is being throttled, or like stemmed or stopped by the existing entourage at the football club.
Yeah, and then I think the one point that everybody's been worried about from the start is that it's like anything, whether it's FIFA, whether it's an app on your phone, whether it's Minecraft or whatever it is, if you want to get to the very top of that game, if you want to have the best experience of that game, if you want to get the most out of it, you have to pay. You have to pay. Everything's behind a paywall. Get to the next tier, you have to pay extra. Then you have to pay more, and you have to. If we're chucking all the good stuff into the machine, saying, we want high press attack in football, we want all this, and they knock out elite tier, top tier, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, 5, and we're shopping at tier 6 and 7 at the bottom or whatever it works out at. If we're at the bargain basement bit of that machine, those analytics, well, I think Scott from Scarcer and the Funnel shared the fact that the budget that we set for the manager was lower than what Kelly paid Eric McInnes in salary. So, if we will have to spend money, because you'd mentioned that, Ando, this works because of incremental gains. That's how it works. You have to speculate to accumulate. You have to invest to sell, to then reinvest, to then sell, to reinvest, to then sell. And that for me is what the worry is we went cheap with Critchley. I don't know what Ogmo asked for, right? I don't know if he asked for, and we're hanging our hat on a guy that might have absolutely been a catastrophe, right? That I get all that, I understand that, but again, we're not going to get the guy that we all want, who's not going to come with that type of view and say, actually, I want all my own coaches, or I want my backroom team, or I don't want to work with Paul Gallagher. I want a different goalkeeper coach. I want Liam Fox gone or whatever. Like, we're not going to. You can't cheap that, because we'll be back here again in 6 months' time. Because you're right, Andy. You can't dip your toes in with this. You have to trust that this is going to work. And I know the counter argument to that is, well, you should have trusted Critchley or whatever, and that was.
No.
But that was the thinking. But that was the deciding factor where Jones was saying that, yeah, maybe didn't do as well in the interview as Hogmore, didn't impress as much as what Hogmore did, and we went all our eggs in the one basket for him to come in, and then he said no, and we've had to be like, well, it's going to cost us money to go back through the process. It's going to cost us time in the league. Maybe we just say, right, well, they've all been through the GTA system. He scored highly. He might have just had a bad interview. He might days talking on the pitch, blah blah. So let's go full hog. You have to trust the system. Let's stick with him. But again, it's one of those things that whatever you put in it, you're going to get out of it, and you can't do this on the cheap. It won't work on the cheap.
There was something you just said a minute ago, right, which took me back to, like, again, that without talking about it too much in detail, obviously, because I need to keep private life out of this a little bit, but like, you all know what I do for a living, and an old boss of mine had always said, right, that marketing 101 is, if you get something for free, you're the product, right? So if you're not paying a subscription for something, then you effectively are the product. And what you just said a minute ago, Corbett, kind of just took me back to that a minute ago, which is, like, we're getting this system. God knows how much we're paying for it, if we indeed we're paying anything for it. Is the horrible realization just in the back of my head that, are we somehow some sort of fucking experiment, without going all conspiracy theory about it, that if we're not paying anything for this and we're getting no investment for it, are we like effectively the product? Which means, like, let's try all this shit and see that, like, you put it into the algorithm and say, this is what doesn't work, so don't use it again for our big fair paying clients. Our clubs that we've got on board that will actually pay us a shitload in subscription.
Well, potentially. The only thing to counter that would be that Bloom doesn't give this to anybody. You know what I mean? He's has such a small group of clients in the footballing world that they allow to use it. So I think that the investment is coming in the summer. I think that's pretty much done in terms of that. It just needs to be ratified in terms of Obviously, there's going to be a dilution of shares from the foundation of Hearts, but will need to be voted on or whatever. And then it'll be in terms of investment. And I think it is too early to judge the players that we've seen so far. We joked about this last season at the start of the season. We opened the season playing St Johnstone away in Perth, and we won 2-0. We're in the bus on the way back home, and I'm saying to my dad how impressed I was with Lowry, how good Tagawa looked when he came on. And my dad said, that's because they've no trained with Hearts yet. He's like, they've had no training sessions with Hearts. Give them a couple of weeks with us, and we'll coach all of that clean out them. And exactly what happened.
Big Bill's never rang, is he? He's always right on the money.
He's always right. And like you said, you look at Gerard Taylor, he's in Costa Rica now. Dead. No chance that he'll ever play for Hearts ever again. And you look at that Tottenham game, you look at the Rangers game, where he was fresh here, probably a handful of training sessions, which have probably been focused purely on fitness and trying to get some match sharpness. And after a couple of weeks of actual training with us, yeah, absolutely abysmal. We sucked everything out of him. He was trying to score with throw-ins. He was taking players on, Cruyff turning on his own byline. Everything that we were like, yes, I love this guy. This is what it's all about. And it's the same. You look at Khartoum, he doesn't look anywhere near a Hearts player. But again, he's came in, not the pre-season, midway through the season. He's been chucked into games now where it's win or bust, and he's not going to get the time on the ball that he thinks. He's not going to. So all he's going to do is do protective stuff, like we said at the very, very start. He's going to do the safe thing, and he's going to take the safe option. He's going to look for the safe pass. He's going to run into the safe area. You've got Steinweider, who I actually think has been the best of all the signings. I think I like him a bit better than I like McCart. That's not that to say that I don't like McCart. He makes a mistake on Saturday and he's dropped. He's not injured yesterday. He's just dropped. And then I think, cool, great. I love that. I love that cutthroatness. But where was that with Shankland? Where's that with Craig Gordon? Where's that with the players that make mistakes week in, week out and get to play? And again, that just a culture at the club. We've said before, and I say it all the time with my guys that I work with, that I lead and manage. Whether Kev's late or Ando's late, I'll pull both of these up for it, because it's no fair to let Ando away with it because he's my mate and dig out Kev because he's not. That sets the wrong example all the time. And that fairness has to be the same for all the players, because that's when players switch on. That's when players go. We've spoke about this before, about people sitting on the bench and there's Stephen Kingsley there. So if you're a right back and you're sitting on the bench, or you're a left back sitting on the bench and you think, right, Penrice goes down, I could get on here. But if they know that they'll move Kai Rowles over and play him left back, or they'll drop Danda in and play him right back or whatever, suddenly your succession line to the first team is blocked. So you go, what does it matter? I'm a natural right back. I'm sitting on the bench and I'd rather play someone else in my position than give me a game. So what's the point? Do you know what I mean? And so I didn't like that on Saturday, that the manager dropped him for making a mistake. But yeah, I think it's still too early for Jamestown. But they've been. Look, I didn't want to turn this podcast into this all the time. It's why I stopped coming on the podcast, because now's time. It's time. Anne Budge has done what she set out to do. She saved the club. She put us on Cam C's or whatever it is, and people can argue all day and all night whether the football department business or the football business is well run till the cows come home. I don't want to have to tears and snot or protests and burn the place down to force change, but we need change. It has to change. We've done this enough now.
11 years too long.
That's unfair, Kev. That's unfair. Don't forget that glorious season in the Championship, mate.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, we'll wait and see.
You're right, though.
Let's have a look and see if I can find out who won the Player of the Year. Shall we
I don't
have a-
know.
Be Craig Gordon.
It's probably
So
not
the
even
moment of the season, will you want to take a guess what the moment of the season might have been?
It better not be Jan Dander scoring in the last minute. That is just an absolute joke of a flipping award in the first place.
No, go.
6-0.
Yeah, 6-0. Beating
Fucking
Dundee
hell.
6-0.
But that was a fluke.
James Wilson has won a special recognition. Don't know what that means. Craig Gordon has won the save of the season. Well, that would be what a shock that would be if someone else won save of the season, considering he's the only one that ever plays in goals. Right, well,
Sure.
is it too early to discuss who you would like to see as the new Hearts manager?
I've been thinking about this for the last couple of hours since we started rolling the tapes, and I genuinely, it's a difficult one, but I've got an idea. But anyway, Kev, you first. I didn't want to say mine out loud.
I don't genuinely have an idea. I know there's been a number of names brandished around, and I've seen the various different odds for different different
Who's top?
existing managers. John McGlynn, really,
Fuck
John
that.
McGlynn takes Scott off on 60 minutes every week, and he's ruined the season. They're about to capitulate and no go up. If he comes to Hearts, I'm getting it all up.
He's had a try before, 20 years ago or however long fucking ago it was. Absolutely not. It will not. It cannot be him, right? If you're gonna go up, like deviate away from,
It's not going to be him.
I think fuck, right?
I was going to say, what if you don't know who you want it to be? Have you got any criteria as to what you would like to see? For example,
said it earlier on.
do they have to have Scottish football experience?
I want someone that's Scottish football experience. My biggest number one on the list is I don't want a fucking experiment, and I don't want a Championship, League One, League Two, or non-league jobber from England that doesn't know what this club and what Scottish football is all about. Genuinely, I'm going to be snobby here, if that's even the right word to say, and say I want a fucking Scottish manager that knows Scottish football, because like we've tried other things and it hasn't worked. You continue doing what you've always done, you continue to get what you've always got. I always say that, right? No more fucking experiments. Give me a dirty dickhead Scottish manager that knows the game in this country. End of.
Taylor Eckert are currently running with Stephen Presley, mate. Do you want that?
Jesus,
That's not going to happen either.
No, I know, but when you look at it as like a Scottish manager, you really are. You've got a very, very small pot. That's the only. That's where I was going with that.
Just as
I
get it.
One of those weird serendipity moments. I spoke to Stephen Presley 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I spoke to him a couple of months ago because he does a lot of work for my employer down at the behest of Brentford. And I had a pint with him in the pub a couple of months ago.
So I've got the odds at the moment. It goes John McGlynn.
I would ignore them. Ignore.
Oh, 100%.
It's not going to be any of those. It's not going to be any of those people. None whatsoever.
Des Buckingham. Who the
fuck is that?
They've just found someone in England and thought, he'll do.
Another
Robbie
League
Nielsen.
One jobber.
Ian Evatt. Again, who the fuck is he? Kim Helberg, which actually is quite an interesting one. He's a boy at Hammerby.
North Korean president.
Liam Fox. Liam Fox. Rob Edwards, who was he the guy that was in charge of Wales?
Yep.
Aye. Nigel Pearson. Christ. He's out with a flipping 1972 or something like that. Derek McInnes, Barry Ferguson, and the one that makes me laugh, and this is why I brought it up, at 20-1, and I don't know which particular bookies this is with, Wayne Rooney.
Get big Wayne Aldo. Get him in.
Oh, Flipping hell. The guy who has really like screwed up Plymouth, he's screwed up Birmingham, he's screwed up at come on, have a word with yourselves. You're just picking names out of a hat and hoping for the best.
Wayne Rooney at the Scion Park Hotel last August. After
Can we go with this, mate?
Have I told you this story or no?
Can we do this on the pod?
If we ever get a Patreon, we'll put it on there.
When
he was still Plymouth manager. Good story.
I agree with something Ando said earlier, is that I don't care who it is, but we need experience now, not an experiment. We need them. We need someone that knows the game, preferably knows the Scottish game, but it's not essential. The British game, 100%. I would say that you need to understand how football's played up here, in terms of, you just look through managers that have come up and tried to play a different type of football. You need somebody to come up here and embrace what's good about Scottish football, which is its kick and rush. It's 100 mile an hour. And like I said before, I use Celtic as a great example of that, because at its absolute essence, Celtic are run as fast as you can, as hard as you can, for as long as you can, and then we'll replace you with people that can come on and do the same thing. They just have won a gold ticket that actually they also have a manager that can tactically and structurally set the team up so that they've got the right players in the right positions at the right time. That's why they blow everybody away, is because they're structurally set up superbly well. But when you boil it down to what makes them great, it's because they never stop running, they never stop pressing, they never stop being at 100% of what they've got at every opportunity. And that's what we need. We don't need somebody to come in to try to be methodical, try to play possession-based football, try to bring Pep Guardiola's Barcelona style to the Scottish game, where you don't get time on the ball, where you will come up against the low block almost every other week, where actually it's about aggression and tempo, not about ball retention. So they're my kind of criteria, is what we need somebody that understands the game and how it's played in the UK. Scottish managers or people with Scottish football experience, I don't know if there are many out there that I would take. Of my own personal one, that you already know, I've said it 1,000 times, I'd take Derek McInnes in an absolute heartbeat. But I understand that that's, people wouldn't agree with that or whatever, and would moan about playing style and all that stuff. But I've watched manager after manager after manager try and bring a playing style to Hearts that's just not us. It's nothing about us. Derek McInnes talks about how much he loves Tynecastle, the atmosphere, the fans being on side. He comes to Tynecastle and understands fully how to annoy us. So the idea that he wouldn't come to Hearts and understand how to get us on side, how to get us engaged, how to get the best out of us. A man that I think he finished 9 seasons in a row in Europe with Aberdeen, won them their first trophy since Alex Ferguson, took Kilmarnock to Europe last season. I get it, I understand that folk will complain about the style, but genuinely, tell me the last time you watched Hearts and thought the style was something that you cared about. Do you know what I mean? Winning is what I care about. Being hard to beat is what I care about. Knowing that the players at our level, players can be shite, right? It's like Tam on the podcast, right? He's going to be 9 times out of 10, he's going to be shite, but get him into trouble. Tell him to do better. Pull him up. Tell him they need to get better. And that's what I think we don't get right now. And I think we would get that from someone like Derek McInnes, is that they would look at and assess where we're bad and make it better, where we're good and make it better, and take away any of this sort of rigid, no, this has to be the idea. Plan A is this, plan B is do plan A better. This would be a no, actually. We do have to sit in a low block here for the opening 25 minutes and then come out and try and hit them on the counter, or would they just have to go gung-ho, get on top of them, put balls in the box for the start? Again, even if it's just set plays, I am sick to the back teeth of watching Hearts players stand on the corner flag and go, and then hit the first man. And then I'm sick of them beat a man, get to the byline and hit the first man. Get a throw in, throw it, hit the first man. It's like, oh my, even if we turn into a long ball set play team, I couldn't care less, because I'm going to tear my eyes out watching the same rubbish delivery in and out of the box. So that would be.
Here's one for you though, right?
Yep.
So I love the idea, right? And genuinely, it's the name that I didn't want to say, because I wanted you to say it first, because I'm a shite bag, and I feel myself turning in Tam as we speak, just by the admission of that. But the bit for me why I don't think that would ever happen is that, can you imagine him like just wading into the fucking interview room with Anne Budge, right? And she's like, "Oh, so Derek, what are you going to bring to the game?" He's like, "Guess what? I'm going to fucking win." End of, right? He's like, "Oh no, we can't have that attitude, Derek. That's no good, right?" Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if he would fit within this all goes back to what we've been talking about all night, which is the ethos of the club and the entourage that are there just now. Would he work with the Jamestown Analytics stuff? Would he want too much of a full control over, like, because he's a proper manager, isn't he? Right? So I don't know. Would our current setup allow allow Derek McInnes to come in with his style and actually work?
I guess the thing is that he knows perfectly well that that's the way we approach things now. So from that point of view, if he knows perfectly well what I'm looking for is a 6'5" battering ram as a centre forward, and they put that into the analytics and give them 5 names out, then that's exactly what he's looking for. So again,
it's the same thing, Kev. It's like, could you even approach Derek McInnes knowing full well that he would just not be interested in it? Is there even any point in picking up the phone?
I'm just saying that, given the sound bites that we've had from Derek McInnes over the years, I think he'd walk on broken glass to get the Hearts job, if I'm being honest. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to be Derek McInnes. That's pretty obvious that it's not going to be him. So again, my criteria is just, like I said, someone that knows the game. You know, I don't want an experiment this time. It needs to be an experienced manager. Because I actually think about, when was the last time Paulo Sergio, Jim Jeffries before, the second time round, but probably the last, well, obviously Craig Levein. Craig Levein was there as well, but the second version of Craig Levein was just never the same as the first version of Craig Levein, because we all adored the first version of Craig Levein. And again, it's absolutely no surprise that the last time Hearts done back-to-back seasons finishing third was when the first version of Craig Levein was the manager. And you go back to any of those interviews, watch him after Dundee United lose at Ibrox, slaughtering referees, listen to Paul Hartley talk about how Craig Levein absolutely tortured them. Listen to anybody that was managed by Craig Levein in the first version. That is what Hearts need. That is what Hearts need. They need people to treat them, the players to be treated horrible, so that they can go in the park and treat the opposition horrible. And I go back to, like, actually thinking about, when was the last time even Tynecastle was like that? The picture of Neil Lennon lying on the turf is iconic at Tynecastle, because every man, woman and child in that picture is over the barrier sticking their finger up at him. And I think to, like, the game on Saturday, and just the bite of what Hearts are and what we all love about Hearts is slowly draining away. And I know that's pure dramatic, because you win a few games and everything's rosy again, but this one has to be right. This one has to be right. They can't afford to get this wrong. But I'll go back and circle back to what I said right at the very start. This removing Neil Critchley is phase one. We have to have wholesale change above us in the boardroom, or this is not going to churn out any different scenario than what we're already in right this very second. That's where we're at.
As you say, it's just a band-aid at the moment, isn't it?
Yep. Well, since it's been cheery all day, we might as well end it on a cheery note. Do we think that we're going to go down? Like, do you see us? We've got Ross. So we played Dundee on Saturday. We were 6 points clear of Dundee on Saturday. We're now only 3 points clear of Dundee. We play Ross County in Ross County on Saturday. Currently 5 points in front of Ross County, who currently occupy the 11th spot in the league, the relegation playoff spot. Do we see us being dragged in? What's your thoughts?
Kev, you go first on this.
I do. I do see us getting dragged into it. And the reason I see us getting dragged into it is because these are teams, even St Johnstone at the moment, Ross County, Motherwell, they're all scoring goals. We cannot score. It's as simple as that. Couldn't score in a barrel full of fannies at this time. And from that point of view, that's where I feel there is a particular issue. If you can't hit the back of the net and you can't keep clean sheets, then from that point of view, you're automatically going to be pulled into it. So that's my thoughts on it.
No,
Sorry, I can't put a more positive spin on it.
That's fair.
What about you, Ando?
Same. If I'm being honest, after saying anything else would just be stupid. I think Kev's nailed it.
Yeah, that is the worry. People are scoring goals round about us. We can't keep a clean sheet. So have we announced that Liam Fox is in interim charge, or have we done any of that
Correct.
stuff?
Correct.
He
it
has,
was at
so
the
it's
end
been
of
announced
the
that he's in
statement.
interim charge. Okay.
Yeah.
And what will it be? Lee Wallace and Angus Beef again?
I would expect so. Unless they bring in Andy Webster and leave Angus Beef with the bees. I don't know.
So I won't name the player because it's be unfair. But I already told you in the group chat or whatever personally when it happened. I was at Falkirk versus Ayr at the Falkirk Stadium and was sat in the hospitality bit, if that's what you want to call it, at Falkirk. I've made that sound well nicer than what it is, right?
It's the part of the bus shelter that has a roof on the top.
Yeah. It's a bit where they used to keep the hot tubs, remember? Yeah, and I spoke to a current first team player. We played on the Sunday. He was there. He was there on the Saturday, and essentially said that Critchley a waffler, and the younger guys in the team, the boys that have been there for a while, basically just listen to what Liam Fox says anyway, because the manager at the time talked in riddles. They didn't really understand what it was he was trying to say, so they would just wait for Fox to tell them what was to happen. So you probably see a bit of a bounce from the players, but again, that momentum, a bit like Saturday, you start the game okay on Saturday, but you don't take a chance, you don't score a goal. The cutback for Kabangu and he side foots it back to the goalkeeper. George Grant's effort, a couple of half chances here or there. If you don't take your chances, they'll go back. They'll fall into their shells and go back to the type of football that we've seen before. So hopefully Liam Fox can get a bounce. But my worry is if we don't get a positive result on Saturday, then we are staring down the barrel. I know that we've got 2 home games after that, but I actually think that the team are at a point now where they prefer playing away from Tynecastle because they know that I seen Penrice have a bit of a go at the main stand on Saturday for people having a go at Hearts going back when we were in forward positions. So they'll be very apprehensive about having to come to Tynecastle in a must-win match. But I'm hoping that just clearing, the manager out and a bit of enthusiasm, because that was my biggest thing with Neil Critchley is aura. Aura. No, I said aura. That's a singer. Aura is a big thing for me when it comes to managers. If you look at all the good managers, even the ones that we've had, they had a bit about them on the touchline at press conferences and then around the ground or wherever. And Neil Critchley will be wearing that Umbro Hearts tracksuit in 18 months' time, doing Vida session at the back of a Blackpool Lidl somewhere, telling people that he once was the manager of Hearts. Do you know what I mean? Like, a tramp. So we need that. We need that, and hopefully that's something that we get next. But I'm fearful. I'm fearful that we are going to find ourselves in a relegation dogfight. So there we
Let's
go.
hope no.
Let's hope no. Right. Well, we try and is there anything positive to say? Or can we try and find that positive for Jambo in Glasgow or whatever he's called? Tam's not here. That's a positive. He's a wee fan.
That's a very good positive. No, some of the, as I said, like I didn't want to labour the point about negativity or whatever, but for the guys that have sent in emails, so one guy whose name I can use, so Alan Hunter, who took the time to email us on Wednesday, basically just crediting you, Corbett, for your I suppose your moment of vulnerability, if you can call it that. He obviously really liked that, and I forwarded you the message. I think it's fair to say that he's in exactly the same space as pretty much everyone that's on this call. Another guy who reached out and he's told me not to use his name. In fact, two people have reached out and told me not to use their name, so I won't. But they're saying exactly the same thing. And enough is enough. We absolutely need change. There is no way that we can possibly proceed forward with not only this manager but the entourage that are sort of presiding over the club just now. And there needs to be real change. So obviously, you guys that wrote in, hopefully box number 1 is ticked. We got rid of the manager, but then I suppose it goes into the theme of what we've been speaking about earlier on, about everyone that's running the club just now. So
they say it was Alan Hunter that said he was happy.
Alan Hunter has said it's fine to use his name, yes. So, but the other two guys will keep quiet.
Thanks, because in his email he said about players wearing green boots. And
yes, I like that bit, to be honest.
If it makes him feel better, I politely told Xander Cartum on Saturday as he walked past and behind the goal at the Gorgie stand to get those fucking things off. So,
were they made by Skechers as well?
And again, I think I've told you this. We'll end it on this. I'll tell you another gather round. Corbett's going to tell a story about Scotty again. When he came through, obviously his contract expired when he played for Burnley, and we knew that he was coming up the road to sign for Rangers. He was basically living at the boot of his car till he could he was living in a hotel till they could arrange somewhere for him to go. He only had the boots from his sponsor that he had in the boot of his car that were basically green boots. And he went to his first day at training at Murray Park, put them in his cubby hole or whatever, went and did his, like I said, massages, his warm-ups or whatever, came back and his boots weren't there. And basically the kit man had been like, whose boots are these? You get these to fuck out of this. No one is wearing these boots. And he went in, so Scotty took them and went into the youth team changing room and chucked them in and went, there's 3 pairs of whatever they were at the time. There'll be Nike, because that's his boots behind me there. There'll be Nike, some form of boot. There you go, you can have them. Within 15 minutes, the youth coach came back in to the first team dressing room, chucked them in and went, who the fuck's handed these in? No one's wearing them in my team. And it's wee stupid petty things like that are where the culture of a football club, that's where it's built. That's where it is. Ask any ex-Hearts player that's ever played for Hearts, why did they have the mental one-up on Hibs every single time they played them? And they will tell you it's because the minute I walked in the door at Tynecastle, everybody I spoke to, the taxi driver, the guy that took me there, the guy that took me up the stairs, the person on reception, everybody says whatever you do, you don't get beat by Hibs. That's it. Drilled into them from the minute they walk into the football club that we don't get beat in derbies. It's not acceptable to lose derbies. And it's those wee tiny things that you think don't matter that actually make a massive, massive difference, because it sets the tone for the minute that you walk into a new club about what this club is all about. And we've lost our way. That's not to say that it doesn't happen now, by the way, but it feels like we've lost our way when it comes to stuff like that. So
Standards.
hopefully we can get it sorted. Standards are what gets us out of this. Right.
Yep.
We do predictions for Saturday before we go. Might as well end on a cheery note, so I'm
we
sure we'll have us down to win. We play Ross County on Saturday.
Oh, aye, great. Well, I'm going to copy and paste my previous stuff. Even though the manager's gone, I still won't be there or going or even take an interest. That's unfair. We'll win. New manager bounce. If you can call it that.
What's the score?
2-0. Hearts.
Kev?
1-0 Ross County.
I'm Desmond. Going Desmond. I think it'll be 2-2. They're fighting for their life as well with St Johnstone. Did St Johnstone win? No, they got beat, didn't they?
No, they got beat.
Right. So they're pretty much gone anyway. But
that's the thing. Ross County are scoring goals. Motherwell are scoring goals. That's why I'm worried.
Good laugh.
Yep. And I actually, we'll end it on I loved people getting in contact with me talking about the London Boys. Just brought back loads of memories of how ridiculous the London Boys were, but they were my favourite band when I was a wee boy. So I appreciated people me sending me London nights and YouTube videos of the London Boys performing in very questionable venues in London, but we'll leave it at that. But it's fun. Bill, if you're listening, my dad, you have got a lot to answer for letting me kick about with leather chains and all that on when I was 5.
I don't know what I heard the other night, but I typed something into Apple. I've still got it here. Aye, that's what it was. It was London Beat. I must have typed in the wrong thing. It was a song come up by London Beat called "I've Been Thinking About You," and I don't know why. This is the song that I think will probably forever remind me of you. If you've
no.
It's definitely. By the way, if you listen to that song for 10 seconds, you'll realise it's nothing to do with Corbett. It's miles away. But
is it all
London
happy
Boys,
and positive? Is
it? Well, no. London Beat. I've been thinking about you. Search it on Spotify or Apple iTunes, and tell me if you think that's anything like what Corbett was into. Answers on a postcard, please.
The London Boys literally wore like leather. What do you call them? Leather dungarees.
Chaps.
Honestly, it's not that far off. They wore leather dungarees with no t-shirts on, with like metal chains coming off their trousers and that, and then we like sailor hats.
I'm pretty sure I went to a semi-final against St Mirren, but you dressed exactly like that.
Yeah, that's exactly. That was. I told you, I love them. They're my favorite. They're my favorite guys. Music's went right downhill. That's why I'm so miserable.
Fair.
What a place to end this.
Exactly. We needed to. Right. Thanks for listening. Obviously, sorry that it's so much tears and snorters, but I don't really know what else to do. If between now, which is Sunday night, and Saturday kickoff, there are developments in the manager or any boardroom changes or anything that would be considered big breaking Hearts news, we will no doubt try and jump on a pod and podcast. And to my haters on Kickback, I am sorry that the BBC phone me, that Super Scoreboard phone me when they want tears and snorters. I will no doubt be asked to comment on Hearts searching for their 8th manager in 11 seasons, so I'll apologise in advance. I'll try my best not to annoy you. Right. Cheers, troops. I'll see you all next
week.
Cheers,
lads. See you later.
Bye.
Gargaroos.